So, like, when you discovered the hip hop side of it all and you started getting into it, did you have desires of creating music, or were you like a fan of it, or like what is your relationship with it all?
Um, I did kind of, think that one day I would create music. Um, it didn't end up panning out that way. Uh, but I was definitely fortunate to be around a lot of dope fucking people that were doing music. Um, but I write, and so like I would write poetry, and I would write things as, short stories and things like that. So that was kind of like where my talents would manifest. But I've always been a humongous fan of music. I've always been, I've always been around a lot of talented folk. Um, and I just never, you know what? That's not entirely true. At a time, or at a particular time, I would say around like junior high school, like I wanted to actually sing, right? I actually wanted to make music. I wasn't so much into making hip hop music. I was into kind of like singing. Um and you know, for whatever reason as a kid, like I had wanted to, I wanted to pursue music, and when I was, getting ready to go to high school and shit, I had the opportunity to apply to the High School for Performing Arts, which is what the TV show, I don't know if you're familiar, Holden, with the TV show Fame.
Yeah.
But the TV show Fame was is modeled after the High School for Performing Arts, out here in New York, and I wanted to go, but I was scared of auditioning. I was scared of like performing in front of people and shit. So kind of like a little bit of shyness, and like a little bit of apprehension, and honestly a little bit of fear, kind of held me back from pursuing that. Which is, it's interesting that I'm even saying that shit, because just yesterday I was lamenting to my wife how I really should have pursued it. Like I really wanted to have pursued it, and I should have. But so I guess that kind of like is why I've been adjacent to it, um, you know, for so many years. You know what I mean? But yeah, at a time I did aspire to. At other times I aspired to some other things, but like my creativity always manifested itself in terms of like writing, pieces of literature, poetry, like I said, things like that. So I got other kind of like artistic interests as well, but musically, that's where it was at.
That makes a lot of sense. So over the course of high school, you're just kind of more involved in the scene, but like actually just being the guy in the scene as opposed to being the guy trying to be the guy in the scene.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yo, dude, so I went to Brooklyn Tech. Like I know Flacco knows a little bit more
Hey, so
about
you
me.
went to Brooklyn
Yeah.
Tech. If you didn't, I was wondering what school you and right. So like, to share a little bit of mine, right? Like I wanted to go to art and design, right?
Right,
But
right.
like I actually went to take the test, and like,
Mm-hmm.
I guess like my art wasn't good enough for them and shit. And
Yeah,
like
yeah.
they were like, no, fuck you. You know what I mean? So like where did you end up though, right? Like I ended up at Truman High School in the Bronx and
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
Also, to put a nice exclamation point on it, I ended up
Right.
taking college courses at FIT while at
Nice.
Columbus. So it was like, fuck you, art and design. I could do better than you
Yeah.
anyway. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
but where did you go? Like, because you didn't end up at performing arts, so you went to Brooklyn Tech.
Yes, I did. So there was kind of like there was another interesting kind of thing at play at the time, which was, um up until I was going to high school, I had been enrolled in and was always in private schools. So like my first school experience was a Montessori. Um, Pardon me, real quick. I'm gonna shut off this thing because that battery's about to die. Um, I went to a Montessori followed by a Catholic school for 7 years, right? So this is like 9 to 10 years of my parents paying like hefty tuition, you know what I'm saying, for me to attend school. And there was one thing that was clear when it was coming time for me to go to high school, which was my parents were not paying for school beyond like the 8th grade. Like they're like, yo, at this point you gonna have to go to fucking you gonna have to like you either gonna get into one of the fucking specialized high schools or you go into the zone high school, the local school, you know what I'm saying? So I took the test, like thousands of other New York City school kids do. My brother had actually gone to Bronx Science ahead of me. I didn't score high enough to attend Bronx Science or Stuyvesant, so I ended up at Brooklyn Tech, which was not my first choice. But in retrospect, I'm happy that it turned out the way that it did because um, it enabled me to kind of like find my own path. You know what I'm saying? Like as had I gone to Bronx Science, for example, I would have been L's little brother. You know what I'm saying? Coming to school because
Okay,
like he
copy.
was, you
I
know what I'm
already
saying?
know.
He was there, and I would go and people knew me and shit.
That
And I
was
was,
the same reason I avoided certain schools because I wasn't trying
yeah,
to follow behind my older brother and sister.
yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it was like one way or another, I was gonna go to a public school, because my parents weren't paying for another like private or Catholic school, and I took the test and I scored just enough to get into Tech, and so I went to Tech, which again like allowed me to kind of like develop my own kind of path, and make super valuable friendships. You know what I'm saying? Like Pro and I have been friends since we were 14 years old.
Mm.
You know
Okay.
what I'm saying? And so I was at Tech, and Pro, as y'all know, is a fucking super fucking dope MC. And there were 4 to 5 like other really, really, really fucking good MCs that came out of Tech at the same time that he and I were there, you know what I'm saying? And so like, you know, in a way, like, it was like those dudes were so good that it was just like, fuck, I don't know if I'll ever be that good, even if I fucking tried, but at least I could fucking try to help these dudes fucking do something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like, Pro and I, our friendship isn't based on that shit, but it's a big part of who we are as friends. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess as you're like going through like past high school and stuff, like in high school, I guess, do you get involved in anything in particular with writing, since you're already kind of pursuing those route as well?
Um, Not particularly, and more than just working on my own stuff and just doing shit for myself, doing shit for my friends, um, doing shit as classwork. But I would pour myself into fucking like assignments. You know what I'm saying? Like I would dedicate myself to fucking really, you know, putting out fucking high quality work. Like um, I can remember sophomore year, I took this English class, right? It was called Music and Literature. I mean, Movies and Literature, excuse me. I took this English class. It was film and literature, right? So we would study books that had been turned into films, and kind of compare and contrast like the films to the novels and things of that nature. And sophomore year, to be like 100% candid, I lost my virginity, right? So um shit changed quick. You know
Oh
what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like
Oh
priorities
yeah.
changed quick. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
So
I know exactly what you're talking about, son.
you know,
You know what I mean?
you know what I mean?
I literally always cite that as like I went from comic books and cartoons to beers and bitches. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that was the graduation in life. You know what I mean? And it was behind you know, girls. It was just girls. Once it became
Yeah.
girls, it was like girls was like that took up 100% of my time.
Yo, 100% of the fucking time, you know what I'm saying? And so like I started you know, obviously I started, you know, skirt chasing and cutting class a lot, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Um, but I remember I had been cutting this class a lot, you know what I mean? Um, and you know, getting close to the end of the year, and the day of the final comes and shit like that. And like, you know, I've been through the ringer with this teacher, you know, from cutting classes to putting out good work to doing all kinds of shit. You know what I'm saying? And like originally starting the semester off sitting all the way in the back of the classroom to being front and center by the end of the semester. You know what I'm saying? And so like, I remember walking into the final, and I was like, yo. Um, I hadn't been in class in like 2, 3 weeks at this point, you know what I'm saying? But I knew the final was coming up, so I'd show up to class, and we're sitting right in front, and the dude, you know, frankly, the teacher was gay, right? And so he was all hissy and shit about me like having been out of class for 3 weeks, and I'm sitting in the very first seat of like the second or third row, whatever, and you know he drops the test papers on my desk, you know, take one, pass it back type shit. And you know, he's like, oh, you know, had been saying some shit about like now you show up, blah blah blah, talking shit about me having been cut in class, whatever. And so he puts the test down on my desk, and I looked up at him and I was like, yo, you know, I'm gonna ace this shit, right? And so like I proceeded to fucking take the test and get like an A- or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like I killed the fucking test. And so when he gave it back to me, it had this comment on it. And I still got it to this day. And it's this kind of shit that kind of led me to becoming and being the Dubbchivist. But the comment on it was, on this level, dot dot dot, what a shame. So I crushed this fucking exam. You know what I'm saying? Like I absolutely fucking destroyed that shit. So you know, he was right. You know what I'm saying? It was a shame, you know what I'm saying? Like I was fucking like, you know, I had this fucking brilliant ass fucking talent.
Yeah,
And like I was just a fucking skirt chaser.
I respect that. I in
You
grade
know,
10 and 11 won the most outstanding underachiever award 2 years back to back, and
Facts. Facts. Outstanding. You were underachieving in outstanding fashion.
we used to blatantly disrespect this teacher. He was wonderful, and he was like the best one of like top 5
the
teacher, like
best.
you know.
It's always the
And
nicest
we were
teachers that you
we
treat
used to
like
like
shit.
play
That you're
backgammon
like the
and
biggest
shit in
shits
the
with.
back of his class,
Yeah,
just to like
Jesus Christ,
we didn't give a
Holden.
fuck.
Yeah,
Come on, fucking
I got
backgammon.
fucking stories.
Like at
I
least
got
be, you
stories of
know,
being a
They
fucking
had back.
horrible human being to some teachers.
I don't know why there were backgammon tables, but it was there. Okay, so what are you gonna do? Not play backgammon if you're doing science shit?
Yo, backgammon is there, son. Play that fucking backgammon, B. Fuck it.
backgammon lit.
No, but I felt that though, cause I mean I got like 90 something, and he called me an outstanding underachiever. Like it was high grades, and he's like, imagine if you had
Yeah,
applied yourself a little bit.
yeah.
I'm
So
like,
I've been a little bit. I've fallen victim to some of my own fucking kind of like underachieving in life in general. But I still turned out pretty good up until this point. But yeah, um, so I have written some things. I mean, you know, my chosen career choices, you know, as you probably know or you know may know or
I
already is,
have honestly
I've been
very little idea.
nah, yeah, I've been in the fashion industry for about
What?
18 years. I'm coming up on my 18th anniversary. Yeah, I'm coming up on my 18th anniversary of being in the fashion business. Um, Actually longer than that, but for 18 years, like as a wholesale professional. Um, and so like writing has served me in think, you know, in certain ways. Like I've done, um, in the industry, I've done, you know, like copywriting for products, product,
Mm.
you know, like lookbooks and things like that. I've built, you know, I've written copy for websites and things of that nature. I've done specialty writing services like, you know, biography writing for personalities you know, and people, you know, coming up with copy for like, you know, like I said, websites and brands and things like that. So I've done some creative writing, but not, you know, like not necessarily always for myself.
I mean, all of that's ill stills. Like, I know it's like weird to write copy for someone else, but when you do it well, it feels pretty good stills.
Nah, 100%, 100%. And in a way, it's like it's still being published, right?
And it's like you're literally a professional writer at that point. It's not like some fake shit like you put a book out. Nah, B, you're like so good at writing, motherfuckers pay you to write.
Yeah, facts. That's a fact.
I
That's a
thought
fact.
about that for like a long time. I do a lot of I mean, I wrote tutorials, all that kind of shit, you know, but for software and whatever. Then I got into the freelance side where you just copy other people's words and paraphrase it and make it a little bit more your own brands. And it's
Yo, that's not. That's what fucking school is, right? Like doing a fucking term paper is like 10 to 15% fact, and then like 90 to 85% of you like embellishing and offering your fucking opinion and hey, dare I say perspective on the you know what I'm saying, on the info, you know what I mean, in the situation, you know what I'm saying. So yeah, so I was great at bullshitting my way through fucking school and getting good grades and things like that. I also chased skirts to my own detriment. Fucked up in school a lot too. So um,
nah, man.
hey, here I am.
Chasing skirts gives you skills later on in life that people who didn't chase skirts don't have, and it shows.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Like
Facts.
it could
Facts.
be like a
Big facts.
not that everyone should do it, but like I don't know.
I mean, honestly, I always recommend, and I have literal track record of recommend, right? Like not skirt chasing, right? But like when my little sister came from Puerto Rico, she moved back to New York for college, and I was dropping her off at her dorm room at Pace University down there in fucking Lower
Downtown,
Manhattan, downtown Manhattan. You know exactly
I
where.
went. I did a
Um,
year. I did a year of Pace upstate in Westchester.
oh, word. Yeah, nah, she was down right like across the street from the Brooklyn Bridge, essentially, right? Like,
Yeah.
and
My father went
when
there.
I dropped her off, I was like, I let her know, I was like, yo, you're young, yo. This is the time to like live life, like, you know what I mean? Find yourself, date as many guys as you want to, and fuck if some, college chicks are looking at you like, oh, you're a slut. It's like, fuck you, bitch. I'm figuring shit out, like
Yeah.
figure it out. That's the time to figure it out. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
between 18, to like 24, you should be figuring life out as much as possible. You should not be settling down with anybody because you don't know who you are yet. So you should figure you out first and foremost before you like embark into a relationship with someone without knowing yourself.
plus you don't want to do that shit in your 30s. I be seeing people
No.
getting into it in their 30s, and I'm like, it's just. I mean, look, I'm not trying to shame nobody. I'm just saying, like,
Yeah, nah.
it's gonna make it hard to do
Like,
some of those other
get life
empire
however
building
you want
things.
to.
You know, like
Yeah.
it gets in. Like it's like like if you have to. It's not so much chasing skirts. It's having to learn how to at that age. That's the bad idea where you get experience points. Plus, it's all sales, right? And that's really what it is.
That's interesting.
I got into it a little bit later on in life. I'm not maybe as strong in sales as I would be otherwise. And I noticed that almost all my salespeoples from time approaching girls like that, like there's a correlation to it, like
Yeah.
customer service dudes be long-term relationship guys. I just like locked up.
Yo, it's funny. That's funny you put it like that,
That's
man.
hilarious.
That's just hilarious.
You learn all about how to apologize. Part of customer service training, high key, is literally an hour-long PowerPoint on the perfect apology.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. I don't know. I don't know if I ever received that one, but if you got one, send it my way.
All right, Joe.